You've been lied to your entire life. Everyone told you that confidence comes first, feel confident, then take action. But here's the truth that neuroscience has proven beyond doubt. Your brain is literally wired backwards. The amygdala, that ancient alarm system in your skull, will never stop signaling fear until you do the thing you're afraid of. Confidence is the output, not the input. Writing affirmations in your journal that won't rewire a single neural pathway. Visualizing success while sitting on your couch. Your brain knows you're lying to yourself. Fear is a lie. The neurological truth is this: fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. The moment you step on stage, cortisol drops from panic levels to manageable within 15 seconds. Not 15 minutes, 15 seconds. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how your brain actually builds confidence, why everything you've tried hasn't worked, and the precise mechanism that will rewire your neural pathways permanently. This isn't motivation. This is neuroscience. The confidence lie. Let me ask you something. How many times have you waited to feel ready before taking action? How many opportunities have slipped through your fingers because you were waiting for that magical moment when fear would disappear and confidence would arrive? Here's what nobody told you: that moment will never come. Action is the foundational key to all success. Your brain evolved for one purpose: survival, not success, not happiness, not fulfillment, survival. The amygdala, that almond-shaped cluster of neurons deep in your temporal lobe, has one job: keep you alive by keeping you afraid. Every time you consider doing something new, something uncertain, something that could lead to social rejection or failure, your amygdala fires warning signals. It floods your body with cortisol and adrenaline. It makes your palms sweat, your heart race, your mind spiral. And here's the cruel joke: this response was designed for saber-toothed tigers, not job interviews. Your nervous system cannot distinguish between physical danger and emotional discomfort. Survival, that's all your brain cares about. So when you tell yourself you'll take action once you feel confident, you're essentially saying you'll move forward once your survival mechanism stops doing its job. But this ancient wiring can be overwritten, and what comes next will show you exactly how. The cortisol cliff. Picture this. You're about to give a presentation. Your hands are shaking. Your voice feels trapped in your throat. Every cell in your body is screaming at you to run. Now here's what neuroscience discovered that changes everything. Researchers at Harvard put electrodes on public speakers and measured their cortisol levels in real time. Before speaking, cortisol spiked to panic levels, the same levels you'd see if someone pointed a gun at your face. But the moment they opened their mouths and started speaking, cortisol crashed within 15 seconds. Not gradually. It fell off a cliff. The fear that felt like it would last forever dissolved almost instantly once action began. Fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. This is why every confident person will tell you the same thing. They're not less afraid than you. They've just learned that fear evaporates upon contact with reality. The anticipation of the thing is almost always worse than the thing itself. Your brain is essentially running a horror movie in your imagination, and the only way to stop the film is to step into the actual scene and realize there's no monster there. Now that you understand the cortisol cliff, start speaking now. If this is starting to shift your understanding, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring the depths of your psyche with me. Because what I'm about to reveal about promises might be the most important thing you hear today. Promise architecture. There's a mechanism in your brain that most people never discover. It's called the promise-keeping loop, and it's the actual architecture of genuine confidence. Every time you make a promise to yourself and keep it, your brain releases dopamine. Not because you achieved something grand, but because you proved to yourself that your word means something. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. Now flip that around. Every time you hit snooze when you promised to wake up early, every time you skip the gym when you committed to going, every time you say you'll start Monday and Monday comes and goes, your brain is taking notes. It's building a case file. And the verdict: your word means nothing. You cannot trust yourself. This is where real confidence dies. not in big failures but in the tiny daily betrayals. Confidence is the compound interest of kept promises. The person who wakes up when they say they'll wake up, who does the thing even when they don't feel like it, who honors commitments to themselves as seriously as commitments to others, that person is building an unshakable foundation. Their brain has evidence. Thousands of data points proving that when they decide to do something, it gets done. Each kept promise is a brick in the fortress of self-trust. And this brings us to something even more critical, the size of those promises. The tiny threshold. Here's where most people fail, and it's not because of lack of willpower. It's because they don't understand the tiny threshold principle. Your brain has a resistance detector. When you try to make a massive change, when you promise yourself you'll go to the gym for 2 hours every day, when you commit to waking up at 5 a.m. when you've been sleeping until 9, your brain throws up a wall. Too much change dangerous. The amygdala interprets radical shifts as threats to your identity, to your homeostasis, so it sabotages you. This is why willpower fails. You're fighting against millions of years of evolutionary programming with sheer determination. But there's a backdoor. It's called the tiny threshold, a commitment so small your brain can't resist it. 1 push-up, 1 page, 1 minute of meditation. Your brain looks at these and thinks, that's nothing. That's not a threat. I can allow that. And here's the magic. Once you start, momentum takes over. The person who commits to 1 push-up often does 10. The person who opens their book for 1 page reads a chapter. You're not trying to build the habit of exercising for an hour. You're building the habit of showing up. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. The threshold isn't the destination, it's the entry point. But even with tiny thresholds, there's a specific timing that matters more than anything else. The identity shift. Something profound happens when you accumulate enough evidence. Your brain doesn't just update its confidence levels, it updates your entire identity. Psychologists call this identity-based behavior change. You stop being someone who is trying to exercise and become someone who exercises. The shift is subtle but seismic. Identity. Think about someone you know who seems effortlessly confident. They don't wake up every morning having to convince themselves they're capable. They don't need affirmations on their mirror. Their confidence isn't a performance, it's who they are. This didn't happen because they were born with better genes or had easier circumstances. It happened because they accumulated so much evidence that their neural networks had no choice but to reorganize around a new self-concept. Every promise kept is a vote for the person you're becoming. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. Give it enough patterns of you showing up, following through, facing fears, and it will rewrite the story it tells about who you are. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems, your identity, the evidence your brain has accumulated about what you actually do when no one is watching. Speaking of evidence, there's a specific type that your brain weighs more heavily than anything else. Emotional evidence. Not all evidence is created equal in your brain's confidence algorithm. Intellectual evidence, reading books, watching videos, understanding concepts carries some weight. But emotional evidence, that's what rewires neural pathways. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. This is why someone can read 100 books on confidence and still feel insecure. They've accumulated intellectual evidence but zero emotional evidence. Your amygdala doesn't respond to concepts. It responds to experiences. The first time you speak up in a meeting and survive, that's emotional evidence. The first time you approach a stranger and they smile back, that's emotional evidence. The first time you fail publicly and realize you're still breathing, still okay, still standing, that's the kind of evidence that rewires your threat detection system permanently. You cannot think your way to confidence. You can only act your way there. Your brain needs to feel the fear, do the thing, and experience the survival on the other side. Feel fear, survive, repeat. Each emotional experience builds what neuroscientists call experiential memory, the most powerful form of learning your brain has. This is the raw material of real confidence. But there's a specific way to stack this evidence that accelerates everything. The evidence stack. Your brain operates on something called recency bias. Recent experiences weigh more heavily than older ones. This means that a single week of kept promises can shift your confidence more than a year of occasional successes, followed by long gaps of inaction. 1. Daily tiny commitments build momentum. 2. Weekly challenges expand your comfort zone. 3. Monthly bold moves reshape your identity. This is the evidence stack, a strategic layering of confidence-building experiences. At the foundation, you have daily micro-commitments, things so small you can't fail. Make your bed, do one push-up, write one sentence. These aren't impressive, but they are constant. They build the base layer of self-trust. Consistency compounds faster than intensity. Above that, weekly challenges, slightly uncomfortable actions that push your edges. Have a difficult conversation. Volunteer to present. Try something you've been avoiding. And at the top, monthly bold moves. The things that genuinely scare you. The asks that feel audacious. The dreams you've been postponing. Stack your evidence from the ground up. Most people try to start at the top, big moves without a foundation. They fail, lose trust in themselves, and spiral back to square one. Build from the bottom, and each layer makes the next one possible. But there's a hidden saboteur you need to understand: the feeling trap. Here's the trap that keeps millions of people permanently stuck. They're waiting to feel like it, waiting to feel motivated, waiting to feel confident, waiting to feel ready, waiting, and they'll wait forever, because feelings follow action, not the other way around. This is one of the most counterintuitive truths in psychology. You don't wait to feel motivated before you work out. You work out and motivation follows. You don't wait to feel confident before you speak up. You speak up and confidence follows. Action may not always bring happiness, but there is no happiness without action. The father of American psychology, William James, discovered this over a century ago. Yet we keep falling into the feeling trap. The reason is simple: acting without feeling ready is uncomfortable. Your brain interprets discomfort as danger, so it whispers, "Wait, not yet. You're not ready. Just a little more preparation. Just a little more time." The feeling trap kills dreams, but here's what your brain won't tell you. Readiness is a feeling that comes after action, not before. The only way out of the trap is to act before you feel like acting. And this leads us to the most practical principle of all, the 15-second rule. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio discovered something remarkable about decision-making. When you have an impulse to do something brave, to raise your hand, to make the call, to send the message, you have approximately 15 seconds before your brain talks you out of it. 15 seconds is the window between impulse and fear. After 15 seconds, the prefrontal cortex fully engages. It starts generating reasons, excuses, what-ifs. It builds a case for staying safe, staying small, staying exactly where you are. But in those first 15 seconds, there's a gap. A moment of pure impulse before the analysis begins. Act in the gap or lose the moment. This is why counting down works. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. You're interrupting the fear response before it fully forms. You're launching yourself into action during the window when courage is possible. The 15-second rule isn't about being reckless. It's about recognizing that your first impulse toward growth is often wiser than the fear that follows. The moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. Every confident person has learned to act in that window. And what happens after those 15 seconds is where real transformation begins. Rewiring complete. Here's what happens when you apply everything we've discussed. The first few times you act despite fear, nothing dramatic occurs. You feel scared, you do it anyway, you survive. But your brain takes note. Each time you honor a promise to yourself, dopamine reinforces the pathway. Each time you act in the 15-second window, your prefrontal cortex learns a new pattern. Each time you stack evidence at the daily, weekly, and monthly levels, your identity shifts a little more. Neural pathways that fire together wire together. This is Hebb's law, the fundamental principle of neuroplasticity. After enough repetitions, what once required enormous willpower becomes automatic. The person who used to hide in meetings now speaks first. The person who avoided challenges now seeks them, not because they are no longer afraid, because they've built so much evidence that fear has lost its power. Rewired stronger, unstoppable. Your brain hasn't been fixed, it's been fundamentally restructured. The amygdala still fires, cortisol still spikes, but the pattern recognition systems now have overwhelming evidence that you survive, that you thrive, that you are someone who acts despite fear. This is what confidence actually is, not the absence of fear, but the presence of so much evidence that fear becomes irrelevant. The rewiring is complete. Now it's your turn to begin. You came here thinking confidence was something you needed to find. Now you know the truth. It's something you build, one kept promise at a time. Your brain has been running survival software in a world that no longer threatens your survival. The amygdala will keep firing. The fear will keep coming. But armed with what you now understand, you have the power to override it. Start impossibly small. Honor every promise you make to yourself. Act in the 15-second window before fear takes over. Stack your evidence daily, weekly, monthly, and watch as your brain has no choice but to rewire itself around a new identity. An identity of someone who does hard things. Evidence builds, identity transforms. Remember, fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. The moment you step forward, it begins to dissolve. The cortisol cliff is waiting. Your 15-second start now. If you made it this far, comment rewired if you're ready to start building your evidence stack today. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Welcome to the Psyche Project. If this shifted something in your mind, hit like and subscribe. Understanding yourself is the work of a lifetime. See you in the next video.